weaknesses that aren't psychic. So that's going to help Chimarex kind of stabilize early.
All right, the first two turns, really rapid fire. Chimarex has a bunch of trainers, but went first. Couldn't play them and just passed. And looks like Davi attaches an energy, and he probably doesn't have any trainers because he didn't play any, and also passed. So we can see their hands. Yeah, a bunch of utility trainers that aren't gonna do him any good yet. Chimarex also pulling out the Bridget, which is super, super helpful, getting out that ball toy and some other support Pokemon like that Vulpix, helping. That's going to be able to help him set up pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is a great start for Chimarex. With he has the Carbink, and this is a great Carbink with Diamond Gate. Lets you search your deck for a supporter card, feed him card, put him in your hand, and then he also has Bridget on top of that to just completely set up his bench at the same time.
His board state is looking pretty good. The only thing that seems to be missing is that he doesn't have any energy.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
So it probably seems that both players are off to a bit of a slow start. Chimarex a bit faster because he has all the Pokemon, all the basic Pokemon he wants out, but ultimately he's not going to be attacking until he gets an energy.
Right, and he can't even retreat into his Alolan Vulpix, which takes no energy to attack. So he's kind of stuck here, and that actually is a pretty big issue, I would think, with Davi's Gallade having that energy already, and now it's going to be ready to attack. So that's going to be a kind of tricky situation for Chimarex.
Right. Davi has very little playable cards in his hand at the moment, but he kind of has just enough to actually start putting pressure on, and that
Ooh,
might end up making the difference. He attaches the cessation crystal, attaches second energy, and is probably going for that chop up attack for 20 to the active and 10 to the bench.
yeah, but luckily for Chimarex, Chop Up actually doesn't do anything right now because of the
Oh,
hard charm,
right,
and then there's
right.
no damage on the bench either. But Davi does have that cessation crystal, which is huge because if Chimarex does get a Gladol here, he can't use it. So that's a pretty strong start from Davi. But Chimarex, as you can see, has the energy, so he's going to start doing stuff too.
Right, gonna go for that diamond gate or a retreat potentially. We'll see what he chooses to do. Would you have done the same thing by attaching that cessation crystal if you were in Davi's position? It looks like he also has an Eviolite in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just looking at Carbink, for Carbink to do any damage to my Gallade if I were in Davi's situation, he would have to take 3 energy, and he didn't attach an energy last turn. So he's starved for energy right now. And
Right,
Cessation Crystal is just a very strong tool, especially when my opponent puts down a ball toy. I just want to get that Cessation Crystal going just so they can't use Claydol.
right, right. That makes sense. And for our viewers, Cessation Crystal basically blocks Poke Powers and Poke Bodies from both sides, as long as
Mm-hmm.
the Pokemon it's attached to is active. Chimarex is looking to Pokegear, looking for a supporter. He has some supporters in his hand, but they're not exactly the best ones for the situation. Kukui and Mallow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he gets the Plumeria, which would actually set Davi back um, if he were to play it. But instead, it's going to go for that Mallow, which makes sense.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing. So now that he's playing the Malo, he doesn't really have any way to draw into those cards. So I think that Chimarex is actually not gonna use Diamond Gate here. I think he's just gonna pass so he can draw.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Mallow stacking the top two cards of his deck. If he diamond gates or even retreats and beacons, that'll shuffle his deck and get rid of that progress that he made. So he'll probably just have to pass.
Yeah, and what 2 cards do you think he needs here right now?
That's a good question. I'm thinking. Oh, went straight to play somehow. Um, but I'm thinking that Carbon Break is definitely an option, and also Claydol potentially, even though there's a cessation crystal on the field. But having that Claydol for later might be nice.
Oh, and there we see it. You were right. There's the Claydol. It seemed like Davi just kind of passed the turn because he
Right,
can't
right.
do any damage right now. He's still kind of stuck. So yeah.
It looks like, yeah, I think that hard charm is doing a lot of work. Davi can't do anything with his hand right now. We thought he might be able to pressure the board with his Gallade, but he doesn't have the energy or energy gain to use that second attack that he really needs to. And it looks like Chimarex is just going to go ahead and start attacking. If Davi doesn't get into any basics or any way to get some basics, that's gonna be the game for him. He does top deck the Mysterious Treasure, so he's not out quite yet, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's a rough spot for Davi. I don't know exactly what he could get here, but he does have that Poke turn. To if he wants to save that Gallade, he has a Float Stone, so he can get a basic, put the Float Stone on it, Poke turn the Gallade back up, and then put it back down again, just to save it, so he doesn't give up a prize, and also he has another basic. So we might see that play from Davi, but that Mysterious Treasure is kind of a godsend for him right now.
That is keeping him in the game right now.
Definitely, yeah.
He went ahead and discarded the Azoth level X. I wonder if that means he'll be going for a Cresselia. Just
Yeah, I would think that's what he would get, either that or maybe a support Pokemon, something that might be better. Because I thought he had Time Walk in his deck.
right, Time Walk.
So that would be something that he could use to get another Pokemon, right? Maybe I identified that he had Cresselia prized, and maybe he's going to get Time Walk and then get a Cresselia from Time Walk. We'll see what he gets, but Cresselia is probably what he's going to find, I would think, because he has a level X in his hand.
It looks like Davi is probably going to have to send up a Pokemon active as kind of like a sacrifice while charging another one on the bench during this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we might see here? Maybe attaching to a bench Cresselia while leaving a Gallade to die.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Davi actually has quite a bit of options here that he could do. I think the Eviolite, if he does, recycle the Glade, there's the Cresselia. If he does recycle the Glade, he'll put an Eviolite on it just to wear down the damage because it's essentially hard charm for basics. And then yeah, he would definitely attach to Cresselia level X because Cresselia, well, he's gonna get Cresselia level X later. But Cresselia is actually a pretty strong attacker. It's pretty bulky because it essentially heals itself every turn with its ability, and things like that. So we'll see. We'll see what he does here, but.
So he goes and uses the Poke Turn just like you were mentioning earlier, and instead of charging up the healing my way Cresselia, he plays down the great encounter to Cresselia. Looks like he's trying to do as much pressure as possible. But instead of sending something up to die, he's just gonna go ahead and attach to the active.
Yeah, I think he's going full defensive right now. Unfortunately, Chimarex has Plumeria, and that's a big Plumeria because Davi only has one energy left now, and it's not even
Right.
the right type. So that Plumeria is doing a lot of work right now. So hopefully Davi can draw something that would help him out, but it's not looking good.
That is a lot of value from that Plumeria, and
Yes.
Chimarex doesn't even really care about the downside of it because of cost of power, just refilling his hand immediately.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So Davi actually was able to find a supporter here, and that's pretty big, I would think.
That will keep him in the game for sure.
And Moon Tweakle is actually pretty good here too, because he gets to remove 2 damage counters from Cresselia, and then he will get to heal 1 essentially with Full Moon Dance. So Cresselia is
Uh,
essentially healing 3 damage a turn, and that's a lot of
right.
damage.
True. And combine that with the Eviolite, and suddenly Carbink's 60 damage guard presses, only doing 10 damage that actually sticks per turn.
Yeah, and on the flip side, Carbink is also reducing by 20 with Guard Press, and then another 20 with the Hard Charm. So it's like both Pokemon aren't really doing much damage right now. Kind of just a standoff.
We're seeing a battle of very tanky Pokemon, it seems.
Yes.
Something that's nice for Davi though is that Full Moon Dance, since it's an ability, it doesn't the damage counter that you move isn't affected by anything, especially since Hard Charm and its attacks say damage from attacks. So that 1 damage counter can stick on the carving.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really important, I would think, because Carbink Break has a good amount of health, but I don't think it can heal itself in any way. So I mean, it might be reducing damage, but it's not really healing itself. So being able to just put like 1 chip damage on there, and also take off the Cresselia is really important right now.
Right. Chimarex goes ahead and attaches that double colorless to Mightyena, loading up a second attacker on the bench. It looks like we are just gonna see probably quite a few turns of both of these Pokemon just tank me away. Um,
Yeah, I would agree. Now, I would say that Mightyena is also a very bad news for Davi, because it has a attack called Bite On. Now it does take a Dark Energy, which we haven't seen yet from Chimarex, but it does 30 damage. And if the defending Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon, it can't attack, it can't use any Poker Powers, and it can't retreat. It just completely shuts down basic Pokemon. And level X is actually still are their previous stage. So
right.
Cresselia level X is still a basic. So that Bite On is also something that Davi will have to deal with once he gets past this unkillable Carbink. So
And okay, so it's not completely over if he gets the bite on because it only affects the opposing active Pokemon, right?
yes, yeah. So he can and then hit Mightyena. So I guess yeah, you're right. There is a way to get out of that.
And actually, looking at the deck list, it doesn't seem there's any darkness energy or any way to use that bite on attack. So in this deck, Mightyena only for the harass attack, um, but definitely something to keep in mind in future matchups if we see this Mightyena again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I sorry, I don't have the list up right now. But once again, harass is a great attack too. It's doing
Right.
60 damage for 2 energy. He also plays counter gain, so you would just put the counter gain on there and need 1 energy. And it also has type coverage too, which is really nice.
True. It looks like Davi attaches a psychic to the bench Cresselia, um, but also still has very little in his hand to set up further. He does have an Acerola, which will prolong this stalling match for a long time. But
Yeah.
that's actually a really good supporter because that means he can reuse his Cresselia level X and this Eviolite on that Moonlight gain attacking Cresselia, which is 70 and healing 20. So that would be huge.
Yeah, actually, I think Acerola is one of the better supporters that Davi could have seen here, just because it does give him that longevity, um, and keeping that Cresselia alive, and then also getting those damage counters off. Because Cresselia level X isn't dying anytime soon.
Right.
So once he gets near death, because I think he's accumulating like 1 or 2 damage counters every turn. Once he gets
Mm-hmm.
near getting knocked out, you just Acerola and restart it, and it gives you time to draw into more things.
Is true. It looks like Chimarex is just gonna keep on guard pressing while setting up both a Mightyena and a Riolu on the bench. It looks like Chimarex attaches a focus sash to his benched Alolan Vulpix, but I don't believe that does anything for that Vulpix.
It does not. I think it was just to Cosmic Power for more cards because
Okay,
he's figuring that Focus Sash doesn't do much because Cresselia can just move damage counters around.
gotcha.
Um,
Yeah,
so, and you can see there's also two useless cards in his hand as well with the Stone Generator um, that he's,
yeah,
I'm sure, promptly going to discard with Plumeria as soon as he can play Plumeria.
yeah. Two stone generators is not super helpful in this matchup.
No.
Davi goes ahead and attaches a second energy to that bench Cresselia. Probably gonna make that Acerola play at some point. He has a Sycamore in his hand, but is probably gonna hold on to it because he wants to keep that Acerola, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was wondering what you would do in this situation. Would you Acerola this turn, or would you? Because I think you get rid of 3 damage counters off the Cresselia level X this turn. So would you give it one more turn and risk that he just throws something out and kills Cresselia level X, or would you Acerola this turn and then just take a little bit of damage?
That's a good question. I would definitely try and look through the deck list to see if there's any way for um, Chimarex to hit 70 this next turn. And looking
Mm-hmm.
at it, I think because Lucario, actually, the one Lucario that Chimarex has in his list hits for 70 exactly, I would consider ace rolling using ace roll at this turn, because I definitely don't want oh I definitely don't want that Eviolite or the Cresselia level X to get knocked out. But then again, I'm looking at it now and doing the math. Actually, the 70 would only do 50, so I would probably wait a turn. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I would also wait just one turn. I think waiting one turn not only lets you draw a card per turn, but you also get just more time. They use more resources to try to kill your Cresselia, and then you just beam it back up and make a new one. So yeah, I definitely wait more.
Chimerex actually playing that Plumeria a second time with that Lusamine, and it's actually going to put Davi in a little bit of a bind. He's not going to be able to use Moonlight Gain next turn like he would want to.
Yeah, and that makes Acerola a lot worse here. Just so
Hmm.
he can't go to Moonlight Gain, like you said. So unless if he top second energy, Acerola is significantly weaker. So then it's another turn he has to wait to draw something.
It looks like Chimerex just goes in with the guard press yet again, putting that Cresselia level X to 70. Um, he might not want to Acerola necessarily, but he kind of has to at this point. Um, just because this Cresselia level X is now in knockout range, even
Yeah,
if he uses Full Moon Dance to heal one from it.
yeah. Once again, a lot of options for Davi here. I personally think would Acerola here kind of just take the L. Maybe send up a Gallade because it does have free retreat with Moonlight Stadium. Um,
Mm.
even if Moonlight Stadium gets knocked off, then it's still like not a big deal because it would let you set up for the level up or something like that. But we're gonna see the Stevens advice. Oh, and he gets another Cresselia level X, so that's actually very nice for him. Um, but he still is missing the energy, and that's also very bad.
Yeah,
So
drawing six cards and not getting energy, that is rough. Those two Plumerias are doing such huge work right now in this matchup.
yeah, luckily for Davi, I think Plumeria is gone for now. So he can hopefully securely attach his energy. Now, once again, I don't think Davi can get knocked out next turn immediately from what we see from Chimarex's hand, his board state. So Davi might be fortunate and be able to save that Cresselia level X for another turn. But once again, the energy is really big here because then it doesn't look like he's going to get an attack off next turn if he were to Ace Arola.
Gonna be a problem. And I think you're right with Cresselia's Moon Twinkle. Should put it back down to 40, so that'll be a safe health. But instead, Davi's just gonna retreat that Cresselia. Let's see what he brings up here. Seems like he's bringing up the other Cresselia.
So he's going to try to do a double heal. So that's actually pretty good. So now he can move 2 damage counters off of this Pokemon a turn. And that's really strong, especially with the combination of the Galay level X option that he has. So that's actually putting a lot of damage on Chimarex's board right now, while also removing damage counters from his board. But I think Davi's mindset right now is just to survive. So he might go to the point where he has damage counters all over his board on all his Pokemon, and then he starts using Acerola. He starts using stuff to heal and just kind of delay it until he can really get set up because that's going to give him the best chance to win.
Sounds like Davi is basically just saying, I don't have any energy, that's fine. I'll just use abilities to heal and do damage here.
Right.
And 2 full moon dances is really powerful, especially since he did have free retreat. He could keep them on the bench, keep them safe, keep them out of harm's way, and put a lot of pressure on both with healing and doing damage.
Yes, but now his Moonlight Stadium is gone, and that is really big for his mobility. So we'll see. We'll have to see how that affects him.
He can retreat this active Cresselia level X, but it's going to cost him an energy, and he does not have many of those, so it'll definitely be a much harder thing to do now that Moonlight Stadium is gone.
Well, actually, Cresselia has My Way, the ability.
Oh, right.
So if the stadium is in play, he has no retreat cost. So that Cresselia is pretty nice right here. Maybe that's why Davi sent it up in the first place, because he's like, well, I'll have free retreat if Moonlight Stadium stays. If it gets gone, if it goes away, I'll still have My Way to be able to retreat as well. So pretty
this
smart
Cresselia
play.
can retreat, which is very nice.
Yeah.
It looks like Chimarex is still setting up a Riolu on the bench and just swings into Cresselia level X for 60. Davi's going to go ahead and draw. He does not get an energy, but he does get a Premier Ball, which can get him into Staraptor level X potentially, which can be really good.
So he can actually Acerola up his Cresselia, go into Staraptor, Premier Ball for the Staraptor level X, level up, and then have that retreat, because I believe Staraptor level X has free retreat. He could free retreat to the other Cresselia, and of course before he would Acerola, he would transfer 2 damage off of the bench Cresselia, and then he can also heal 4. So he can actually heal 4 off of his bench Cresselia level X, and that would be very strong. I think that might be his line of play, but we'll see what he does.
Sure. He could also just retreat to give him an option to play other supporters in his deck, and if he does have the Staraptor not in his prizes, then he can use any supporter in his deck because the Staraptor level X searches for a supporter. So we'll see if he wants to use a different one. If it were me, I might actually consider trying to just use Full Moon Dances on that My Way Cresselia to start healing it instead of Acerola just because having an Eviolite on that Cresselia would be really nice if it could ever get attacking, but that might be a little bit too greedy, because especially considering he doesn't have any energy right now.
Yeah. But we're gonna see the Gladian here. Now Gladian is a great option. I really like Gladian in Cube because it kind of gets you a card. If you know your list, which I'm sure every competitor in this Champions Cube does, you get to basically look at your prizes and pick a card and essentially search your deck for a card because you know what's in your deck. And if you know what's in your deck, then you know what's in your prizes. And you can basically calculate from there. And we see him get the Psychic Energy, which is actually the perfect card right now. He needs that energy really bad.
Right. Psychic is so big right now. In terms of deck building, we do know that Davi also has the Time Lock Azelf. In your position, do you think it's fine or a good idea to have both of those options in your deck, or would you probably have built one or the other?
I would say I would put both in just because I'm such a big fan of Gladian. As you can see, Gladian has gotten him the card he absolutely needed. So that's really nice to have. So yeah, I would play both for sure. Just because Azelf is pretty easy to get out.
Right. That makes sense. And also, even if you don't need the time lock, Azelf has that synergy with can level up an Azelf level X and be an attacker as well. So
So we're gonna see Davi go on the offensive here, and get out Azelf. And he's gonna go into Gallade, and that's gonna really set up Azelf to start doing some major damage. That's a very strong Azelf right now, especially with the two Cresselia.
right.
So we'll see how this pans out. I don't think Chimarex has any immediate ways of healing, so could be really strong.
That Blade Storm doing 10 to all of Chimarex's Pokemon. Man, and then Azelf on the bench with that Shining Eyes attack that we saw last game as well. Put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. That's actually going to go through the Hard Charm as well as Guard Press. So that card bank in the active is, even though it has all of these damage reducing effects, it's still in danger of being knocked out next turn.
Right. Now he did draw a Lucario.
Okay.
So Lucario is really nice here. Now I want to ask you, he does have Curse Stone, right? And Curse Stone is gonna hurt Davi more than it's gonna hurt him, but it will put a damage on his Claydol, and a damage on his Lucario.
Right.
Would you play Curse Stone in this situation just to get some more damage out?
I'm really wary of putting that Curse Stone to play just because Davi has so much more damage manipulation and can heal damage from the things that need healing the most with those 2 full moon dances. It's a little bit scary, but it kind of depends on the math, and I think here with the Kukui, this Lucario is doing 100 exactly. I would probably hold on to it for now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you could hold on to it, but I think it will become useful later in this game when Davi is, because Davi has to do a lot of math right now, especially since he has Acerola in his hand. He's gonna get it down to like 1 or 2 damage counters. He saw that Kukui's gone, so he's gonna think, oh, I'm 80 away from getting knocked out. No big deal if I attack now, and then Lucario is just going to knock him out anyway, with the Curse Stone bonus damage. So I think Curse Stone is kind of just like a sneaky good card right now. But yeah, I agree. Not, I think playing it now would be pretty bad because Azelf would just get much stronger.
We'll see. It'll be a sneaky plus 10 damage option in the future, and if Davi doesn't play around it, it can be a huge swing. Davi's gonna go into that Azelf that we were mentioning earlier. Probably going to take a knockout on that bench Carbank. That bench Carbank has 110 HP total, has 80 on it. So all Davi needs is a full moon dance onto it, and then this shining eyes, and then that'll KO it.
Oh, and we see
Looks
Davi use Celios for the Holen's
right.
Manaton. That's a very good card for Davi right now, because he can now get more energy that way.
Mhm.
So I think what Davi is doing right now is actually he's setting up for a really strong Acerola next turn, where he
Mhm.
Acerolas the Cresselia level X with one of them, and while he's doing that, he's going to heal off as much damage as he can from the one he's going to attack with, and then he's going to ace roll the other one, put the energy on there, and be able to attack directly and hit this Lucario for twice as much damage because Lucario is 2 times weak. And if he can get off the moon skip, he'll take 2 prizes, which is
Right.
really strong.
That is pretty strong. Moonskip into uh in this kind of cube when there's no like GX Pokemon like there are in standard. There are some EXs, but um just in general, taking 2 prizes makes the game so much faster, and it's definitely a very strong effect.
Yeah, definitely. I actually played against Cresselia in the Champions Cube, and it just took too many prizes, and it was too fast for me to really deal with. So very strong attack if you can get it off.
40 damage doesn't seem like much, that Moonskip attack, but when you're spreading every turn to every single Pokemon and you have 2 full moon dances to do an extra 2 damage per turn, um, you can easily get into that 40 damage knockout range.
And we see Davi take the knockout on that Carbink, and that's actually pretty big because that gets off a lot of energy. Because he had Chimarex had committed a lot of energy to that Carbink. So now the hard charm is gone, the energy is gone, and Davi's up the prize.
That is big. It looks like both decks and both players are going to just be taking knockout after knockout, because it looks like Chimarex can just attack this Azelf, only has 70 HP with the missile jab. So we'll see who comes out on top when the dust settles. Last turn we saw Davi attach that Holland's Magneton to that Cresselia with an Eviolite on it. I was
Mm-hmm.
actually thinking if I were in his shoes that I would attach to the other Cresselia so I can ace roll it, get the Eviolite back, and start Moonlight gaining. What do you think? Do you think
Yeah, I
you would have done it
completely.
Davi's way?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I was very confused when he attached the other one
Right.
because that other Cresselia is a lot better. It hits for 70, um, and it also heals itself.
Mhm.
But I think the Eviolite is nice. He might have been like, well, the Eviolite's already on that. I want to put that
Mhm.
down more. Maybe, I mean, what is the other? I don't know. Lunar Dance. So you discard energy and you can heal all damage from one of your bench. Maybe he likes the Moon Twinkle. I don't know. It's something going through his mind. He probably saw
Mm.
something else that we maybe not have noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have done what you were thinking is put it on the other Cresselia because that other Cresselia is very strong with the My Way. Also, keep in mind, I'm pretty sure the that Cresselia level X on the My Way Cresselia actually has 110 HP. Just
Right.
based on the rules of the cube, where level X's can't actually lower your maximum HP. So that's something to look around for. That's something I actually had just realized, which makes that card even stronger.
True.
So we'll see. We'll
True.
see.
We'll see how it ends up. And it looks like Chimarex played that Curse Stone that we were looking at earlier. So every Pokemon with a Pokepower is going to take an extra 10 damage count, well, 1 damage counter between turns.
Hmm. Yeah,
Chimarex is
and
also playing that Brock's Grit to get all these Pokemon and energy back into his deck.
yeah, that's a very strong supporter. I usually take Brock's Grit because my philosophy when I'm building a deck is to get something that gets cards back, and Brock's Grit's usually
Hmm.
the best supporter available to do that.
Hmm.
So, but here we see the Cursed Stone coming out. I know we were talking about that a little earlier.
Hmm.
So Chimarex must be wanting to do just more damage right now, and I think that's actually really good because it's going to cancel out Davi's like healing essentially with the two different Cresselia's abilities. So I think that's the right play.
Right, right. We'll see. It's definitely gonna hurt both players, and we'll see um, if those damage ends up helping to take a knockout on one of these big bulky Cresselias. And it looks like Chimarex is just gonna go ahead and missile jab probably into this Azov.
Yeah, and I think that makes the Curse Stone better to play right now because the Azelf is gone. So you don't have to worry about Azelf just spreading a ton more damage around.
That is true. That is true. Knowing what we know and seeing their hands and whatnot, whose position would you rather be in right now?
Um, I think it's close. I think Chimarex is just looking a little bit better right now, but those Cresselia level X's I really think are going to put in a lot of work.
Mhm.
So I would definitely want to be in Chimarex, but I do think Davi is not in uh too bad of a situation.
And it looks like I agree. I think Humorex's board is looking quite nice, but something that is also interesting is if Davi chooses to, he can go in for that Moonskip KO on that Lucario next turn, which would be pretty huge. So we'll see if that's what ends up happening. And we're getting word from the players that Davi's PC died and he's restarting it currently. So we're in a little
Yeah,
bit
we're
of a
having
holding pattern right now.
technical difficulties. So uh I guess we will let's look. I'll look through Davi's discard, see what options he has. Now I'm really interested in uh I guess he played Kukui right to kill the Azelf.
Mhm.
Um or did he not? No, he played Brock's Grit, didn't he? So Lucario's doing 80 then, right, with the Vitality ban.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
wondering why Davi didn't use the Premier Ball to go into Azelf level X and go to 90 HP to keep that Azelf alive.
True. That would have been a good play. It is hard. It is easy to forget that Premier Ball can get level X's from the active and from the discard.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what
Um,
happened. But that 90 HP would have mattered.
yeah,
Well,
definitely. I think if Davi would have kept that Azelf around, um, it would have been pretty scary to put down that Curse Stone. May have not
hmm
even seen it in that case.
Right.
But I mean, he definitely plays some way to get Azelf back. So
hmm
we might see it later. He might just want to just have a full refresh, not put too many damage counters on the board because of that stun fisk. With the muddy water, does
hmm
do 20 and 20. So he might want to just let things die and not keep the damage all around.
That is true. And as of level X actually only has a Poke Body and not a Poke Power, so it wouldn't have died to the Cursed Stone either.
Yeah, right.
Leveling up for 20 HP in that case would have been pretty good, but it might end up not mattering. And I think what you were saying is right about having ways to get that Azelf back. I think just last game we saw Davi be able to attack with the Azelf twice using the Super Rod to get it back. So we'll see if he goes for that sometime later in this game as well.
Yeah,
I think this turn is a good turn to go for a moon skip. Maybe that's what he was kind of focused on, and if that's what happens.
yeah. I think that's the game plan right now. Is to moon skip that Lucario, take the two prizes, which is really big. I think that would that put Davi ahead on prizes? Yes, it would. Um, so take those two prizes. You have pretty bulky Cresselia that would have, let's see, 3 damage counters on it, and stuff like that. And we see that Davi has come back, and we're ready to go.
Has
Let's see what happens.
returned.
Ooh,
This
there's an
turn,
energy. That's huge.
yeah, that is really big, and that'll set him up for the moonskip play that we're talking about. That weakness really hurting the Lucario right now.
Yeah, yeah, and the energy's actually very significant because now he has two energies. He can not like it doesn't feel too bad when you have to commit all your energy to one attacker because now he can set up multiple attackers. And then we see the windstorm, and thank
Windstorm.
God Davi had kept that windstorm because that curse stone would have done a lot of damage over time. But now he
Uh-huh.
just gets rid of it. He's like, I'll just take 2 damage, no big deal. I'm gonna move damage off anyway. And we'll see what he does here, how much he's going to do, where he's going to put the damage. Okay, so he's going to go to Mightyena. So he's kind of targeting the attackers of Chimarex, which
Right.
very smart. I think that's the right play, especially since Mightyena resists Cresselia, which is going to make it even harder to get knocked out. So if you can move up to 70 on it, which it seems like he'll be able to, he can do another moon skip and take 2 more prizes. So that's very strong.
Putting it into a second moonskip range, that is crazy. That is very, very strong.
Yes.
Almost um almost setting up like a checkmate type scenario here.
Yeah, and he has that Acerola once again to fall back on, which is super strong here. So if Chimarex is, does like, 70 damage, or goes to like 80 damage, and this Cresselia is almost dead, um, he can just Acerola and then set up another Cresselia. So, oh, and we see him draw the Azelf off the prizes, which means that it was prized with the Gladian. So
Right.
kind of unfortunate,
Gotcha.
but he also gets Staraptor FB level X, which is really strong. He's never gonna have a dead hand anymore, so that's pretty nice.
Is huge. And I believe he's down to 3 prizes now.
Mm-hmm.
3 prizes to Chimarex's 5. Just before we were saying that it seemed like Chimarex was in a pretty good position, but now it's looking quite rough all of a sudden.
Yeah, this is the turn for Chimarex to do something. I think if Chimarex has kind of a turn that falls flat, I think Davi's going to win the game, just because of what Davi has on his board right now. Just there's such a huge threat with both the Cresselias. It's really showing the power of Cresselia on this cube.
I remember looking at um, I remember looking at the cube list and seeing all the different cards in the cube. And at first, Cresselia didn't really stand out to me, but seeing like 2 Cresselia level X's out and having other spread options like the Gallade and the Azelf, um, I'm seeing the power of it now, and it's working out really well for Davi.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. So we'll see what Chimarex does. That Mightyena is definitely not hitting uh the numbers he wants to hit right now.
Mm-hmm.
So see what happens.
And not to mention, Davi has held on to that Acerola for this entire game, so uh, that Davi is probably pretty happy with where he's at right now.
Yeah, I agree.
We see Chimarex playing the Karina and playing that Scorched Earth, trying to get into some more cards. We'll see what he chooses to do, probably thinking about what he wants. Thinking about using Harass, likely, even though Mightyena is basically in Full Moon Dance plus Moonskip knockout range.
So Chimarex actually draws a Floatzel, so that would boost Mighty End's attack, but he's gonna just go into Floatzel
Retreat
and
to
get
float
more
soul.
supporters. I think. What do you think? What kind of supporters do you think he's gonna get with Insight?
Looking at Chimarex's discard pile, probably just Kukui and Plumeria, or maybe Plumeria and Lusamine.
Yeah, there you go.
There's
Kukui
the Kukui and
Plumeria.
Plumeria. He's gonna try, he'll probably try and look for a knockout, and also look to disrupt. If he can, basically, the situation is not looking good. But if he can use Plumeria and make Davi miss out on some crucial attacking turns, that might be a way back into this game.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Chimarex, Davi does have another energy he just got off the top. So he's
Right.
going to be able to keep up with the Plumeria. But I still think Plumeria is the right play because I think you could discard that Minotaur and just make it kind of awkward. So Kukui is also very strong here. I think Insight was actually very smart. He definitely needed the help of Kukui to have any chance of knocking out one of these Cresselias. Because I think that's the goal right now, right? You gotta take out one Cresselia for you to get back in this game. If you can't, it's going to be a really rough time.
You kind of Plumeria probably not. It's gonna be annoying for sure because of that Magneton. Because basically Plumeria is gonna get 2 for 1. So we'll see if Davi is going to maybe attach to his active in advance, even though it doesn't need the energy quite yet this turn. Maybe he will try and prepare for that incoming Plumeria. We'll see. Maybe he'll just attach to the bench and choose to Acerola or attack that or retreat to be able to attack with that bench Cresselia. We'll see. And it looks like Davi
Yeah,
is just targeting the various attackers with Full Moon Dance right now.
yeah. I think that Carbink is actually really scary for Davi because it can hit Stone Edge. So it does have enough energy next turn to power up a Stone Edge. And that's really going to do some damage because he has that strong on him there. So it's doing a base of 80. If he flips heads, it's doing 110, which kind of blows Eviolite out of the water. So that's definitely scary. And then it only has one damage counter on it right now too. So we'll see how much damage that Carbink is doing. Maybe he retreats here and just goes into Star Raptor and just goes fast call or something like that.
True. That would be a pretty decent option. And that
Because he does have a
Carbink,
pal pad. He has a pal pad to shuffle in like Celios and Stevens, and then he can get Celios. Maybe get a Uxie,
nice.
set up a Uxie level X.
That Pal Pad and Star Raptor level X energy. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Carbink you were mentioning earlier, 60 flip a coin of heads, it does 30 more, and then 20 extra for the strong energy. Doing a potential 110, that's basically like one of the strongest basic Pokemons in this cube.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't
Ooh,
expect much from a Carbink, a little Carbink, but it does a
we
lot of
are actually going to
damage.
see lockup here.
Wow.
That's really strong. That's actually really strong too, because that's going to give Cresselia enough time to just throw off all that damage with full Moon Dance, and put a bunch of damage on that Carbink over time.
Right.
And then Davi can go the Premier Ball Azelf route, like we were saying. And Azelf level X's attack is actually pretty good with Deep Balance. You put one damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy attached to all your opponent's Pokemon. So can do a lot of damage if you're not thinking about it. But then we see the Tate and Liza, which is a perfect counter to lock up, and
Right.
we're gonna see Carbink swing pretty hard here.
That lockup was actually a really, really smart play, but unfortunately for Davi, Chimarex has the switch out with that Tate and Liza, and it's gonna go ahead and just take the knockout with that Stone Edge on that Azelf.
Yeah, and that's that's pretty alarming. I think if I were Davi, because now you have a carbink with not much damage. You can't really deal with it immediately, and it's swinging really hard. So if
Right.
I were Davi, I'd be kind of nervous here, especially with the Plumeria, to get rid of the Holin's Manaton. I think you have to put an energy on the Cresselia with the Holin's Manaton just to make sure you have an attack for the next turn, or else
Right.
you're not going to have any attack against this Carbink that's hitting at least 80 damage every turn. So we'll see. At least he gets the Star Raptor out. He gets that nice free retreat Star Raptor. He gets Ascended active so he can level up. So not too bad, but we'll see what happens.
So looking at this Super Rod, I would say bringing that Azelf with the Shining Eyes back from the discard, I would say there's probably two routes for Davi to like two ways for him to play this. One, it's maybe Full Moon Dancing onto that active Carbink, just trying to break through this wall essentially that's dealing potentially 110 per turn. But the other option is to actually kind of set up a situation where that Azelf can take 3 knockouts and take the remaining prizes. So we'll see which one he chooses to go to. Both the Claydol and that Alolan Vulpix are 30 away from dying, so
Mm-hmm.
it, it's seeming like it's definitely possible to be able to just kind of ignore the active Carbink to take the remaining prizes for the game.
Yeah, and the Mighty Anna is only 20 away, so
Right.
that Azelf is actually taking essentially 3 prizes if it were to attack. So I think, yeah, let's see what supporter he gets here. I think you want to, I don't know, man. I think Palpad for Celios might have been good,
Yeah,
unless if
that
he
would
has
have been so
another,
good.
yeah, unless he has another supporter to search for. Okay, Volkner might get him a trainer for the search. Um, but now you can Acerola up either one of your Cresselias and put the Psychic down on that Azelf. Oh, and there's
Mhm.
Pokecom. And yeah, and then finish up the game from there. So looking pretty good for Davi right now. We'll see what the Carbink and the Plumeria slash Kuku we can do. But it's looking pretty good for Davi.
Davi's gonna use that Pokemon communication, getting that Azelf we were talking about, that super rod that Davi drew into. I believe it was this turn, but at least it was recently.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely paying dividends. But he's not going to be able to attack quite yet because he has no psychic energy in his hand. But it's only a matter of time. Chimarex's Carbink with that strong energy is really scary, but it seems like it's just a smidge too late.
Yeah. If that was the first Carbink that he had, Chimarex would have won the game.
Right.
But now it's just he just can't deal with the spread. Chimarex doesn't have any heal right now, and it's just he has nothing he can do about that Azelf. That Azelf is just kind of a checkmate at this point. Yeah, and then we see
Yeah.
the scoop. He acknowledged it, and yeah, we're gonna go on to game 2.
Nice.
And that was I think pretty expertly played by Davi. Davi kind of played the defensive game with pretty poor luck in the beginning, and was able to just buy time until he could set up something and then show us the power of Cresselia. So very, very fun game, honestly. It was pretty boring in the beginning, but then it got really interesting at the
Right.
end.
Davi didn't even he got hit with back-to-back Blumerias in the middle of an energy drought, and it didn't end up mattering. And there were a couple opportunities where we said we would ace Arola if we were in his position, but there was also a lot of power in keeping both level X's on board and just getting through it and just every turn being able to use that full moon dance.
Mm-hmm.
So that ended up working out as well for Davi.
Yeah, and actually, him keeping the Acerola allowed him to set up that checkmate situation because
Right.
he was able to get that psychic energy for Azelf in the end. So
Yeah.
maybe we were wrong. Maybe Davi knows his deck better than we do.
Potentially could very much be the case. We're going to go ahead and go into game 2. This time, again, Chimarex has that guard press Carbink versus Davi's Staraptor.
Yeah, pretty good starters for both players right now. We see Davi has that SP radar, and he also has supporter, and we see that Chimarex has that Carbink and also has the Riolu. Now he doesn't have any draw supporter, but that Diamond Gate's going to get him whatever supporter he wants. So yeah, pretty good starts for both players.
Gate is definitely a strong setup attack here. Also going to get that Brooklet Hill, which sets up another basic Pokemon next turn, so that'll be nice as well.
Yeah.
Davi's hand is interesting because you kind of want SP Radar into Staraptor FB level X, but you're not going to be able to level that up this turn. And you also want to play the Professor Oak's new theory, so we'll see what he ends up doing. Maybe SP Radar for like a Gallade instead.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, maybe a SP Radar for even Luxray. I know it's against a fighting type deck, but Luxray has a really great ability. So we'll see. Maybe he actually goes SP Radar into Gallade, puts an energy on a Gallade, and then he just turns up the Staraptor to just put Gallade active and put the pressure on early.
Could be the case. We'll see what Davi ends up doing. Looks like he's attaching to the active, so maybe he's going to hold on to the Professor Oak's new theory for next turn. Yeah, he's going to play it a little bit slower, just attach and pass, or attach and quick attack, actually, doing 10 damage to this Carbink.
Yes, he's going the more conservative route here.
Right.
I think that's smart. He will then just guarantee a Staraptor FB level X next turn, which is very, very strong. And I guess he can afford to do it. I'm more of an offensive player, so I was thinking in a more offensive way, but definitely more conservative player.
Yep, I think both players are fair. Both plays are fair, and we'll see how it ends up for Davi. Chimarex going in for the Brooklet Hill, going in for that ever so valuable ball toy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to get the Karina as well from that Diamond Gate last turn. We'll see what he grabs with the Karina. Probably a Claydol, but we'll see. Chimarex also top decking the challenge this turn. I don't know if he would want to play it though. I think he would give so many basics to Davi, which is probably not what you want.
Yeah, I think challenge would hurt him more than anything here, just because it would give Davi the bench that he wants.
Chimarex is gonna Karina and get Professor Oak, which is an item in this cube, really, really powerful item. And that Carbink break instead of the Claydol, trying to just put some pressure on with the Diamond Gift ability or Diamond Gift attack.
Here we see, I think Chimarex is playing pretty offensive here, trying to get those energy for a good Diamond Gift and get that Riolu / Lucario online pretty quickly.
Right. And actually, something that we didn't talk about when we were talking about Davi's options is that Staraptor has fighting resistance. Even though Carbink's a rock type Pokemon or whatnot, that fighting resistance is going to make it so that he's not taking any damage from these Diamond Gifts. So that might have influenced Davi to take this slower route, knowing that he's not under too much pressure quite yet.
Yeah, and then we also will see, I think, Defog out of Staraptor level X, which allows him to discard a Stadium in play and then protect himself the next turn. I'm pretty sure that's what it does. And we're going to see a Diamond Gate, actually, from Chimarex. I think he's pretty comfortable with what he has now, so he's just gonna go ahead and get more cards, which is definitely commendable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Considering that the Breaks attack won't do any damage to the Staraptor, and Lucario only needs 2 energies to attack, he's just gonna Diamond Gate to set up his board. Shall see what happens next. And it looked Staraptor FB level X's defog actually, if there's a stadium in play, you can discard it and it does 70 instead of 40 is the effect of that attack.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got the Flygon's attack confused.
Right, yeah.
Sandwall. But still, that's really good. Good way to counter Cursed Stone or maybe a Scorched Earth. And with that being said, I don't think you play Moonlight Stadium here. I don't think you need it. And especially if you're gonna just defog away the Brooklet, you just hold on to it and just shuffle it back in because eventually you'll need it. But if you can aggressively get rid of those stadiums on Chimarex's side, that seems pretty good. And we'll see what he gets here with Staraptor. He might just play Pont and then get a supporter for the next turn. No, he's going to find something. Let's see what he gets. A Volkner. Okay.
He's going to Volkner probably for the energy gain, I would imagine. Energy gain would allow him to use that defog that we're talking about. Otherwise, he is 1 energy short. See if that's what he goes for.
He could also go Whirlwind here too, which would kind of disrupt Chimarex. Because then Chimarex would have to either put an energy down or have to use Tate and Liza, which isn't super good. And it would do a decent amount of damage. It would do 30 damage as well. So we'll see what Davi does here. I think you're right, though. I think he will get an energy gain. But he's been looking for a while. It might be prized.
Yeah, looks like that might be the case. We'll see. We'll see what he ends up doing. If it's prize and that was a play that he was trying to make, it's a little bit of a misplay. You probably could have checked for that energy gain being in his deck with the fast call first. Oh, Davi seems like he prized 12 cards on accident, so we'll see how players want to resolve this game error.
So we're gonna probably get a judge ruling here. I think prizing 12 cards is a lot better than prizing or not prizing anything. So it's probably not going to be very hard to fix. I think he just will send 6 cards back in the deck. Hope that he puts that energy gain back in because I'm pretty sure there's no energy gain. It took him a while.
That might be why he noticed there were 12 prizes.
Yeah, I would think. I would agree though. If energy gain is prized, that would be kind of a misplay because he went pretty hard on that Star Raptor. He got the Volkner, he got the SP Radar. He had 2 chances to notice if his energy gain was prized, and it's still not there. But we'll see. He might have just frozen because he realized that he had prized 12 cards.
Looks like the admins are currently being briefed on the situation. We'll see what happens from here. I think usually the mistakes in our Cube League are not punished nearly as harshly as mistakes in standard and expanded tournaments are.
Yeah, I actually played my last Cube League match last week, and my opponent did forget his prizes in one game. And what the ruling was is that I was given a 2 prize penalty. So basically, I wasn't penalized, but I had to take 2 less prizes to win the game. I didn't physically take 2 prizes. I just had to take 4 prizes instead of the normal 6 to win the game. And my opponent then just shuffled his deck and put 6 cards from his deck as his prizes. But that was about round or like turn 13 of the game. Now in a real tournament, it would have been a game loss because it was just too far into the game. So
Sounds like
And
we're
here we
getting
go.
word from one of the admins to just shuffle back, saying that it's early enough that it wouldn't really have impacted the game state too much and it wouldn't have been a huge advantage. And this is like the first turn that Davi is searching into his deck. He didn't play that Professor Oak's new theory or anything, so that's gonna be the ruling for now. And we'll see if that energy gain is in the deck this time. If he shuffled six back, there's now a 50% chance that the energy
Yeah.
gain is in there.
We'll have to see. The only thing that could have done is just hurt Davi in the end. I feel because of just like after searching a couple times, like I'm sure he had kind of a game plan together, and now he
Mhm.
kind of reset that. We'll see what he just put in the deck. We'll see maybe what is still prized. He's probably going to take a longer deck search here just to look at it again. You have to keep in mind is the fact that Davi is up a game, and I don't know. Whenever I've been up a game in a 2 out of 3 situation, I tend to play a little different than the first game. Just because like I figure, well, since I'm up a game, maybe I play aggressive and try to win the game quicker or just wear down my opponent, or maybe I play defensive because I know I can play conservative if you know I fluff it up, then I still have one more game, to get the
Right.
rest of the match. So, what do you think? Do you think Davi's kind of playing it a little different now, trying to go the aggressive Star Raptor?
Um, you know, it's kind of a hard question because he was playing, I think, a bit slower by not using the Professor Oak's new theory last turn, but he is playing a different type of game where he's attaching to the Star Raptor to try and attack early rather than trying to set up his Cresselias. We'll see if that is still the game plan or if he's gonna look for those Cresselias. Instead, he's gonna Mysterious Treasure for an Uxie. So yeah, it looks like he is playing pretty different than he was last game, just trying to put some pressure on, maybe because the fact that we're in game two, or maybe because he only sees like one threat on the board. Um, we'll see.
So it seems like he still did not have energy gain. So I
Right,
think he went for the next best option in just getting another Pokemon down, getting that Uxie. Uxie's really strong because you have the Uxie level X, which is a very good card. And also it does 3 damage anywhere. So that's pretty nice too. We might see a retreat into that. But at the same time, he does Chimarex does have guard press, which would knock out that UC. So we'll see what he's doing.
right,
I think he might just be playing it down at this point just to get it ready for leveling up.
right. We'll see. We'll see what he chooses to do. Maybe gonna attach that lightning and well, he can't whirlwind either, so I don't know who you attach to at this point.
Yeah, that is kind of different. We might see one on Toxicroak G. We could be seeing another one on Staraptor just to power it up. Okay, we're gonna see one on Uxie. So we'll see what he does with Uxie here.
If he can get into that Oxy level X next turn or in the near future, it has that trade-off ability, which is really nice, but it also has Zen Blade for 60, which is a pretty decent attack.
Yeah. And we saw Davi just go with the quick attack and hit Carbink. So that's pretty good. I would think just like for what happened, I mean, having the energy gain not available to him, it's pretty rough. But yeah, we'll see what Chimarex does here. I think Chimarex is just going to try to get more and more set up as he chips away at Davi's Pokemon with Carbink, kind of like last game.
Right. And we're gonna see Chimarex bounce his own stadium, putting that Scorched Earth into play. It's like he wants to just draw some more cards. Um, but that also means he might miss the attach onto Carbink this turn. Oh, never mind. He's gonna go ahead and Mallow. So he's going to use a Mallow to put any 2 cards he wants on top of his deck, and then he's going to Scorch Earth and get those 2 cards into his hand. That is a pretty nice combo.
Yeah, very strong.
I'm thinking maybe he grabs an energy and either Claydol or Lucario here, but we'll see what he chooses to put on top of his deck. And there it is. It's Claydol plus strong energy specifically, which is very powerful.
Yeah, now that Carbink is a pretty significant threat, I would say. We'll see what Davi can do. I think it's going to be really hard to get past. Maybe he'll go Toxicroak G and do that Poison Revenge.
Right.
To do 60 plus poison, that's a pretty strong attack. Let's see what he does here.
Chimarex is going to go ahead and Cosmic Power to go into more cards. If Toxicroak G is the play, it doing 60 plus poison would actually be enough to knock out this Carbink after a quick attack. So that could be quite strong. We'll see if that's what ends up happening here. Davi can also retreat into the Uxie and just Side Power to set up a Poison Revenge knockout.
Yeah.
But the game is looking very different from the last one, considering that Davi doesn't have any Gracelias on the board. We'll see if that ends up losing him the game, or if that's just if it doesn't, he doesn't even need the Gracelias to be able to win. And it looks like Chimarex just did guard press for 60. And I guess I forgot to take that into account. The guard press is going to make that Poison Revenge hit for a little bit less.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a... Guard press is putting a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Also going to prevent quick attack from doing any damage, even with a heads. Davi's going to play that Professor Oak's new theory that he's been holding on to for such a long time. What Davi could do is he could Sky Power with the Uxie onto, and he gets a Psychic, which is really big. So he's going to retreat. He's going to go in with the Uxie. He's going to Sky Power, probably just put all 3 on that active Carbink. Since Sky Power puts 3 damage counters instead of doing 30 damage, it's going to go through that guard press. And that'll put Carbink at 50 HP left, which is enough for a Poison Revenge to KO even after being reduced from guard press. So that puts Davi in a pretty nice spot, I would say.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have to sacrifice the UC here, so no UC Global X, but yeah, I think that's the right line of play. Considering Chimarex, his only Pokemon right now is Carbink at this point, because Riolu's not doing much, and neither is Claydol. But we see Davi opt not to search any supporter with Fast Call. That's kind of weird to me, because I feel like you could kind of feint out a like you get a supporter and make it look like, oh, that's the supporter I'm going to play. Make maybe Chimarex think a little different about the next turn that he has. Even though Davi's hand is very good for supporters.
He might be thinking he's just gonna play the Sycamore no matter what. So
yeah, that's true. He might want to just be like, I'm just gonna conserve stuff. So
yeah. We'll see if that's.
And then we see a Bridget, so maybe Steven's advice is better here now.
Yeah, that is true. Chimarex is gonna Bridget, get a Carbink, a Poochyena, maybe a Regirock or something along those lines.
So that Poochyena is actually really interesting because now he has the Power Hand extension. So if for some reason he's not able to knock out that Carbink, He can move that strong energy to either a Puchiana or the Full Soul and discard it, which is
True.
really kind of cool interaction.
That is a really cool play that you could make. We'll see if Davi ends up using that POW next turn. It's looking like probably not if Chimarex stays in the active with his card bank. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
that might be just a card better saved until later.
Right.
But it's definitely nice to have as a uh, just a backup in case things just don't go right.
It's like Chimarex is gonna use that Scorched Earth Stadium, discarding a fighting, drawing 2.
Yep, Scorchers has put in a lot of work.
Is for sure. And then he's gonna go ahead and bump his own stadium for the second time, putting in Cursed Stone. So Cursed Stone is affecting only Chimerax's Claydol on that side of the field, and it's going to be doing 10 to the Staraptor and 10 to the Toxicroak between turns, which actually is pretty significant because Staraptor is only 4 damage away from being knocked out.
Yeah, so you think now we're going to see the Pokey turn on the Staraptor to get the energy, not only, and then save the Staraptor. You think we're going to see that, or?
That could definitely be a play, and I think if Davi like uses Stevens and doesn't hit an energy, you kind of have to make that play, in my opinion. But if he does hit an energy naturally, maybe he just waits a turn and Poke turns the following turn because it'll be at 90 then. So you should be okay to wait a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
We'll see if that's what he ends up doing. Maybe he just Poke turns this turn. We'll see.
Here we see the knockout on the UC.
Right. With that guard press. So Chimerex probably sees writing on the wall, but doesn't really have any other option. He can't just let the Uxie keep side powering for free, so he goes ahead and just knocks it out with that guard press. Davi using Steven's advice, really, really powerful supporter, drawing him 6 cards here.
And
It
those
is
are great 6 cards, I would say.
right. Putting that Gallade on the bench. Those are, yeah, lots of powerful options. Steven's advice is kind of just like a more powerful Erica's hospitality, so it is a
Yeah.
very, very strong supporter. So Davi is going to bump that Cursed Stone with the Moonlight Stadium. Chimerex bumped too many of his own stadiums, so Davi just has the counter. And looks like this Moonlight Stadium will probably stick for quite a while.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty big because Davi needs that mobility in order to, use his level X's abilities and stuff like that.
Part of Davi's game plan is to get 2 Cresselia level X's into play, and since you can only level up when it's active, Moonlight Stadium makes that way, way easier. And it looks like Davi attached a weakness guard energy to that Toxicroak, and it's going to go for that play we were mentioning earlier. It looks like he's going to POW hand extension. So he's going to move
get
that
rid of that
strong
strong.
energy. But it
But
would
I'm pretty
just
sure Poison Revenge knocks out Carbank anyway.
anyways, right.
So, kind of a waste. But maybe he sees something else. Maybe he's just like, let's just get rid of it now.
Yeah. Maybe he forgot about like the poison and didn't consider the math. We shall see what ends up happening here. I definitely would have held on to that POW hand extension.
Yeah.
All right, there's the KO.
Now we're gonna see Mightyena come out, and I don't think Mightyena can actually get a knockout on Toxicroak. Oh, he does have Kukui, so that's gonna get there. But yeah, if he didn't have Kukui, Toxicroak would have still been alive. And there we see Davi actually get the Gladion. So this is kind of an interesting spot. Both players are kind of getting what they need right now. I think um, Davi might be in the worst position, but it's really hard to tell since the Gladion's going to get him the E gain, so he can use Defog next turn.
Right.
But now Chimarex has the Hard Charm into the Kukui to kill that Toxicroak and reduce Davi down to only one attacker. So Davi, he might go Gallade. He might go Staraptor. Maybe Poketurn might have been good just to heal that Staraptor. But we'll see. We'll see what he does. Once again, he has a lot of options. And obviously we can't quite get in the head of him, so we'll see what he's going to think about.
It's been a bit of a different game so far with players just taking knockouts back to back, just revenge KOing each other instead of like this big tanking healing game that we were seeing earlier. But now with the hard charm and the Mightyena, it might get a little slower after this KO onto this Toxicroak here.
Yeah, I would agree. That Hard Charm is a very strong card.
It's really funny because in Cube there are so many strong cards that are so powerful that you normally would pretty much never see in like standard or expanded, like Hard Charm and Pokemon Center Lady. But I think those kind of differences from the formats that we're used to kind of is part of what makes Cube so fun.
Yeah. So actually now, oh my gosh. So he actually drew an SP Radar. And he also has Gladion, so he can actually get Toxicroak back, put the Psychic on Toxicroak, Gladion for the E gain, and actually knock out that
Oh,
Mightyena, and that's
that
huge. I think it's a
that
knockout, is it? No, it's
it
not. Not
is,
quite a knockout, but a lot of damage on Mightyena for sure.
yeah. If that hard charm wasn't in play, that would be a knockout. Um,
It's going to put
he's
Mightyena to 80 damage with poison. So Mightyena is either going to have to retreat or just take the knockout and get knocked out at the same time. So that's pretty big for Davi. That gives Davi a chance to get back in the game, in my
right.
opinion. So pretty nice draws for Davi. Oh, he's gonna get the Gallade. Okay.
Chooses not to go in for that play. Let's see what he does instead. He might just might Gladion just chop up instead and try and set up. All right, yeah, try and set up that spread strategy that we saw earlier, getting to Azelf.
Yeah, I guess he can save the Toxicroak for later.
Like Davi's gonna retreat and so yeah, he's gonna Celios for the Azelf instead of Gladion for the energy gain. He's just gonna Shining Eyes, it seems. And I mean, that Mightyena can't knock out that Azelf. So that puts a lot of pressure on Chimarex.
Exactly. That Azelf once again showing how strong it is. I think before the match even started, I had mentioned that Azelf is just going to do a lot because I had played against Azelf at one point in this Champions Cube and it just destroyed me. So as you can see, it's just such a strong card.
1 energy, 20 to everything. That is huge. And it synergizes so well with the rest of Davi's deck.
Yeah.
Again, Azelf's Shining Eyes. It's putting damage counters on so that hard charm isn't doing anything. for Chimarex.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We see a lot of damage reduction in Chimarex's deck, but we also see a lot of ways to get around that in Davi's deck, and I think that's really made a difference here in this matchup because Davi is just kind of not cared. He's just been like, I don't care. I'll just take my knockouts. And this is actually pretty big if Chimarex can't get rid of this Azelf, so he can just go Azelf again and then Pokey turn on that Gallade level X and then do another Gallade and take quite a bit of prizes and do actually a lot of damage as well.
Pokey turn for an additional Blade Storm could be the play. Could be quite powerful. Something to note, though, is that Davi did use that Super Rod already, so once this Azelf gets knocked out, that'll be it for the Azelf for the rest of this game, I believe. We'll see if those damage on the bench accumulates enough for him to be able to take knockouts with maybe like a Cresselia level X or like a Chop Up or something.
Yeah, and that is a really good point because, if that damage is just on the bench sitting there, it's not going to do much, right? So, maybe going a spread route where you just can't quite get there would be bad. That'd be too many resources. So that's definitely a big thing to notice.
Chimarex plays the Hapu, getting that Lucario that he's been trying to build up towards. Unfortunately for Chimarex, he's actually ahead in prizes, so that counter gain is not going to do anything for him just yet. It would be huge otherwise if he could knock out that Azelf. Instead, he's just going to harass for 60.
And even after this Azelf business is over, I don't think Chimarex is going to be behind on prizes either. So I don't know if that counter gain is going to do much right now.
Right. That is true.
And we could see a Mars here, actually. Oh, no, we're going to see Ace Roll. That's huge, actually. Yeah, that's really big. I think that's going to make it pretty rough on Chimarex, considering that this Gallade combo is about to get rid of bench Pokemon and limit Mightyana's damage output at the same time. And this is going to be pretty big, I would say.
Davi makes a huge play, Poke turning, getting a Blade Storm out, and he knows as well as we do that once his Azelf hits the discard, it's gone. So gonna go for that Acerola, refresh its health, and I believe just Shining Eyes again, and knocking out that Alolan Vulpix and putting everything else at very, very high damage.
Yeah, and it's really working out for Davi now because now Davi's just tied on prizes, and basically he's about to take a ton of prizes if he's able to keep this Azelf alive and really wipe out Chimrex's board. Actually, I think he'd be down to one prize if this Azelf is able to stick and Chimarex doesn't really have a response to it, and that's huge because then Davi would only need one more prize and there'd be 80 on that Mightyena, and that's just another Blade Storm away from getting knocked out.
Right. Unfortunately, Chimarex wasn't able, or I'm not sure if he had the energy, but he didn't attach the Lucario last turn. Probably didn't think of the Acerola play happening.
Yeah, that was quite the surprise for everyone, I think, because I didn't even think of it. But you see how fast Davi did that play. So Davi had it in his mind the whole time. So he was pretty confident in that play. Now, what do you think? Do you think you play Plumeria here, try to get rid of that Psychic and hope that Davi doesn't have another one?
Kind of.
Or would you play something else?
You might have to at this point. That might be.
Yeah.
Like it probably doesn't feel great, and you're probably like, well, he has a Staraptor on the field. He can get any supporter he wants. He probably can get another sidekick, but sometimes you just have to go for those low percent plays if you want a chance. Want to have a chance to win a game that you are currently behind in.
And we see him get another basic, so that's kind of nice. He's going to get rid of the Moonlight, which I actually think is pretty significant because now, oh, he got rid of the Hard Charm. Oh, wow,
Oh,
he's
and
going to get there.
he hits the Vitality band, so the Primaria doesn't matter so much, but Chimarex is still super happy about hitting this Vitality band with the Cosmic Power.
Yeah, well, the Plumeria actually let him draw more with Cosmic.
That's true.
There. So maybe he didn't target the right energy, but at the same time, he had no guarantee of what he was going to draw. So I definitely think targeting the Azelf is the right play just because it's like the guarantee. Like you're like, I might as well do that. So I think the game's kind of flipped itself on its head now. Davi really has to knock out this Mightyena, or Mightyena's really going to start taking some big KOs.
It is true.
Let's see. Davi seems pretty bad, I would say. He doesn't want to Sycamore away all those level X's. I know he does have Premier Ball still, but it's just it's a lot of resources to throw away. Maybe he'll get Michael Gladian here. Just thinking about what he has left, because once again, Gladian would just get him a card, and if that card, whatever cards in his prizes is exactly what he needs right now, Gladian would be very strong. We still haven't seen energy gain, have we?
No, could still
so
be there.
That might be energy gain time just to get the defog knockout on that Mightyena, and then allow Star Raptor not to get chipped off by either a card being break or something else.
That would be pretty big. And something actually that I missed last turn is that Chimarex actually field blowered his own Hard Charm to be able to attach that Vitality Band. So it was actually a 2-card combo that he needed and was able to get to knock out that Azelf.
Yeah, very, very astute observation. And that Hard Charm being gone is probably really nice for Davi to see, I would think, because that Hard Charm was really limiting Davi's damage. And now Davi is probably like, well, if I kill this Mightyena, I'm in a pretty good position. I just need to spread a little bit more, and I should be able to take the game.
The Azelf is probably Davi's strongest spreading option, but he definitely has other ones with Gallades Chop Up, and then if he can get Cresselia level X, that's also kind of like a mini sniping option as well. So that damage, not on the bench, on Chimarex's bench, not meaningful this turn, but will almost certainly play a role in the upcoming turns.
So we're going to see him get a Professor Oaks research here. And Star Raptor is also really nice because now he can just search through his deck, see what he has, and then determine what he's prized there, making Gladian a lot stronger.
He's going to go ahead and play that supporter that he just grabbed. Or I think instead never mind, he plays the Team Galactic's Mars to draw 2, which makes sense. You can't exactly Sycamore from this position with the 2 Cresselia in your hand, the 2 Cresselia level X. And one of Chimare's cards, I believe the Brock's Grit, gets sent back into the deck with the effect of that Team Galactic's Mars.
That's a pretty good target, I would say, because I don't think he has Lusamine anymore, does he? So the only way to get back that Brock's Grit is to incite, but that pretty much gives Davi a prize if he sends up that Volta with 6 damage counters on it. So I think Davi is probably just going to retreat to Glade and just take a hit here. Just be like, whatever. I mean, your Mightyena can't possibly knock me out. You don't have any way of getting back Kukui. Your Vitality Band's already used. I can just take a hit here and delay it until I can hopefully draw into some more spread options.
Right. That makes sense. And he attaches the lightning to the benched Gallade, so wants to set up that chop up attack. Chimarex is gonna go in for the Poke Gear. Let's see if he finds anything. Looking at the top 7 cards of his deck, and in this case, there's only 7 cards in his deck, so just the rest of his deck, getting back that Brock's Grit that hit the deck just last turn. He's probably just gonna play it. His deck is looking pretty thin, so he needs those resources back, and is probably gonna grab some of them with the Cosmic Power ability. He's
Gonna
going for
get
the Carving
his
Break and a couple fightings.
Oh, my bad. I thought Mars put the card he chose in the discard, not in the deck. So that Mars basically did nothing for Davi.
Right.
The new Mars
Yeah,
from Ultra Prism
there's
does the discard.
the
I
two
get him
Marses
confused.
do different things.
I know it's silly.
I think I was caught off guard by that as well. Kind of funny how these two cards that are very similar but do slightly different things. Anyways, that Carving Break is gonna go back into the decks for Chimarex, which might play a big role in the upcoming turns, considering this card bank is only 20 HP away from being knocked out, and there it is. There's the Carving Break off the Cosmic Power. That's gonna reduce the amount of knockouts that Davi can take with Chop Up.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Now he has 50 HP more, and it's going to be really nice for that longevity. The Myana is still there though. The Myana is going to put a lot in work, especially since it's resisting Davi's Gallade. So that's going to help Myana stay alive even more, and put the pressure on. Still have not seen energy gain yet. I'm wondering where it is at this point.
I think I would imagine it's in the prizes, but it might not be. We might have just seen a different play, a different line of thinking from Davi that very first time he uses support, the very first time he used Volkner.
Mm-hmm.
Goes ahead and uses Gladian. We'll see what he ends up doing this turn. Probably just gonna let that Gallade be knocked out, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's gonna go. Oh, he's gonna get energy gain. There it is. So I actually think he's gonna chop up with this Gallade since he has the other Gallade on the bench.
Oh,
and he's just gonna chop up using this one, throw the damage out, kill that Claydol, take a prize, and then he'll only need one more energy to attack with the other Gallade, and that would be another threat option for him. So we'll see what he does.
Does sound like a pretty decent play. Instead, though,
he's gonna
attach
just
to
put the energy on the
bench
other one.
Gallade. So he's just gonna let this one be sacrificed. Doesn't already use the Poke Turn, so nothing like that. Already used the Acerola as well. I wonder if he's gonna go for. Probably gonna go for a knockout on this Mightyena the following turn if it stays in the active.
Yeah, keep in mind, Glade level X's attack is super strong right now with aim cut. There's 40 plus 10 more for each damage counter on the defending Pokemon. That's pretty much one-shotting everything. So if he's able to kill this Mightyena, I don't think this Carbink can kill his Gallade back. And we're just going to see Gallade just take 2 quick knockouts. And that's going to be really nice.
Chimarex attaches a fighting. Yeah, Focus Sash should be really, well, it might only play into effect on a full HP Pokemon, so we'll see
Oh,
if
okay.
he.
Yep. So the Windstorm now is really strong because it seems like Chimarex is going to go Lucario. So if he can get rid of that counter gain, that seems very nice, I would say.
That's true. Let's see if that's what Davi ends up doing. He brings up the Staraptor, attaches to it. It looks like Chimarex is at 2 prizes, Davi is at 4, but it's gonna get harder and harder for Chimarex to take these last few prizes once his attackers start getting KO'd. We'll see if he can get there. I think Davi is probably thinking about what exactly he wants to attack with, and I guess he can't knock it out with the Staraptor, so he probably will just have to retreat and use that aimed cut that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking about what supporter, if he wants to use a supporter or not, or if he
This
wants to
is
use the
interesting because
Windstorm.
I don't think Davi wants to overdo anything right here. Yeah, he's gonna just shuffle and draw, and he gets actually pretty good hand, I would say. He's gonna
Gonna be
just
able
put
to
all those
bench
Pokemon down.
Luxray and Toxicroak and Uxie, and even though the Azelf is dead, the Uxie is back in the deck, and that Uxie is probably one of the strongest attackers that he could possibly have for just 1 energy.
Right. Especially right now when he just needs to spread damage. So
Right.
he might actually go for a. Yeah, he's probably gonna aim cut here, but chop up it gets that much stronger with Yuxi on the board. So
So
no,
he
he's gonna
actually
go
does
for
go for the
a
chop up.
chop up. All right.
Thankfully for Chimarex, Mightyena still has that psychic resistance. Doesn't have the hard charm, but has the psychic resistance. Otherwise, he'd be in a much worse spot.
I think Davi's trying to avoid setting off that counter gain, and probably gonna try to take 2 prizes to finish off the game when he can.
Right. That makes sense. So it's back to Chimerax's turn. Probably going to see the players take a little bit longer to execute their turns here because we're getting to the end game and every little decision makes a big difference here. I'm trying to think what are the best lines of play for each player. Chimarex currently at 2 prizes, Davi at 3. I think Chimarex just has to swing. His deck is very strong, but it's also very straightforward. Kind of has to swing into the active and hope for the best.
Yeah, I don't think you can afford to retreat Mightyena and give chop up even more strength here.
Yeah,
I think having that resistance has really been helping Chimarex stay in the game.
is very true. And it looks like he's just going to do just that. He's going to keep the Mightyena in the active and harass for 50.
And there's that Sycamore being played finally. He got a good hand for it. And we're going to see quite a good hand drawn for Davi. He has the energy, he has the pokey communication. Imagine if Davi had the Cresselia out this whole time. I think the game would have been pretty finished
Yeah, that would have
at this point.
been.
So now Davi has that Cresselia out, and with the Pokecom can line one up, or you can just keep Luxray to have that catcher effect. Davi is looking pretty good. We'll see if Gallade is going to either kill Mightyena or just spread another damage and take a knockout on the Floatzel.
With that Sycamore, I think Davi is pretty happy about his position in the game right now.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think he's probably going to chop up again, just put enough damage on all of his Chimarex's attackers just to be a knockout range with the Staraptor and finish it up that way. And notably, he gets the if the Glade does get knocked out, he could just go. Oh, actually, he just go into Toxicroak, but he also gets the retreat with Cresselia and the Floatstone, so he can just go. I mean, he has so many options here. He can just go into Cresselia, level up by using Pokecom for Cresselia level X, or he can go into Luxray, have that free retreat ready, and level up and send something up and kill it. I think Davi, and there's the chop up, and I think Davi's gonna win this one. Oh no, he brought Volta back.
Yeah, I think it was not quite in knockout range. It's gonna be down to the wire for sure.
Yeah,
because Chimarex only has 2 prizes left, so we'll see what happens. Looks like
and
he's gonna
Davi's just
aim
gonna
to
knock
cut
out the Mightyena,
active.
and I think that's fine. I think 2 prizes to 2 prizes, except that Chimarex's board is heavily damaged.
Right.
So I think Davi is still in a great position here. I think that pretty much solidifies that Davi's going to go that Cresselia route, move 1 to Floatzel, knock it out, and then just send up Toxicroak and take out whatever else he needs.
Davi's deck has so many ways to take multi-prize turns.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter that
that's very
Chimarex
strong.
is going to be down to 1 prize. Davi's just going to be able, for what we know, since we know what is in Davi's hand, we know that he has game in hand essentially. We'll see if it plays out the way we're thinking. I don't think Chimarex really has many options to counter the play. That Floatstone Cresselia level X retreat play.
Yeah, and I think with the Lily, that's gonna seal things up. Unfortunately, I was hoping to see that Stunfisk maybe do something, but there's just not enough damage on Davi's board for Stunfisk to take a multi-prize turn.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be game for Davi's gonna win this one.
Chimarex is
And
just
then
gonna
we see
take the
the Glade
KO.
getting knocked out, and Davi's gonna do the Cresselia play and the Skyro Bridge just to put more on that win.
And we know that both Cresselia are in the deck because we've seen them earlier.
Yep.
There it is. Yeah, and that should seal things up. So Davi looking really strong. Another 2-0 for him. His deck is looking quite powerful, but if he runs into some Garchomp C level X's, that would be interesting to see. That's gonna probably look a lot different than this match did.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure the possible people that Davi could play against. But I think Garchomp would be pretty hard just because of just all the sniping, and then he has Earthquake and stuff like that. And there we go. Davi's just taken his last 2 prizes. And Davi is going to take this match 2-0.
Huge. We'll see if he can make the full losers bracket run.
Yeah, he's definitely a great player. I think he could be fully capable of doing that. But what did you think of this match? I think it was actually pretty interesting. I really enjoyed Davi's deck. I think Davi played it pretty well. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think Davi's deck is really, really cool. And even though he had a lot of multi-prize turns and he took the series 2-0. I thought it was still really interesting. I think Rex kept it close. I mean, going down to one prize this last game. Um, Even though Lucario has that psychic weakness, he was able um, to at least give our viewers a good match to watch.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree. I think this game or this match itself was a lot closer than it may have appeared. Just with Chimarex a deck being able to just hit very hard, very quickly. I think Chimarex might have run into a unbreakable wall and just the healing and evil light
Yeah,
shenanigans that Cresselia has and stuff like that. Especially with the weakness being a factor too. He couldn't really go Lucario too much because it just would
right.
have been moon skipped. But yeah, I think it was a pretty good match overall, and I'm excited to see the next one.
I am too. So I think that'll be all from us for now. We're gonna take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back to you shortly with the next match. See ya.